I'm Trinity, and this is TV with Trinity. Welcome or welcome back. Last week we talked about Galentines movies that focus on female friendship. This week we are just strictly talking about rom-coms, so I'm back in my heart sweater, and let's get into it. So I have four tropes that we're going to be talking about today. Each movie fits into one of these tropes. We have friends to lovers, fake dating, second chance, and enemies to lovers. So we're starting out with friends to lovers. First, we have Love and Basketball. This movie is about Monica and Quincy. They are neighbors and they date for half a second when they are 7 years old, but clearly it doesn't work out because they're 7 years old. But they're kind of friends, basketball inspiration for each other. And when they're in high school, they realize they have feelings for each other and start dating into college and whatever happens after college. Next, I have the Duff, and the Duff is the designated ugly fat friend. And in this movie, Bianca finds out through her neighbor slash friend Wesley that she is the Duff, so she recruits him to make her not the Duff, but they end up falling in love. Number three on Friends to Lovers, I have Love Rosie. This is about Rosie and Alex. They are best friends, but keep realizing that they have feelings for each other at the wrong moment for the other person. So it's like missed connections, but finally they end up together, and it is so sweet. I love this movie so much. And number four, I kind of have two, but the movies have the same premise. It's friends with benefits and no strings attached. In each movie, two pairs of friends decide that they are going to have a friends with benefits situation, but clearly that never works out and they both end up being together. Moving on to our second trope, fake dating. This is one of my favorite tropes, probably my number one trope. So a lot of these movies are some of my absolute favorites. Starting out with Drive Me Crazy, which is actually named after the Britney Spears song because their song is featured in the movie. This movie is about Nicole and Chase. They both want to make their previous significant others jealous and want them back, so they decide to date, and it works out perfectly because they're neighbors, so they get to spend time together. She gives him a little makeover, and it's just so cute. Next up, I have The Proposal. This is about Margaret Tate. She is a high up publishing executive, and her assistant, Andrew, she realizes that she did not renew her visa correctly, so she is about to be deported back to Canada and get fired from her job. So she tells the CEOs of the company that she is getting married to Andrew, her assistant, and in order to keep up this ruse, they go to Alaska to visit his family, also pretending to be engaged, and it just does not go as well as it should. Well, how does fake dating ever go well? But it goes downhill fast. Next, I have Just Go With It. This is probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but it's about Daniel and Catherine. Daniel has this ruse about wearing his wedding ring and saying that he's getting divorced from these terrible women to get women to hook up with him. And one night when he's not wearing the ring and hooks up with the woman finds the ring in his pocket and thinks that he's married and she's just broken up a family. So he gets his assistant, Catherine, to pretend to be his soon-to-be divorced wife. So they take the family trip to Hawaii so that his new girlfriend can get to know his soon-to-be ex-wife and children, and it just is absolutely hilarious. Next, I have To All the Boys I Loved Before, and this movie is just top tier for me, like probably one of my absolute favorites, maybe number one. And it's about Lara Jean Cuppy. Lara Jean has written 5 love letters to the past loves of her life in order to get over these crushes. One day, her little sister sends out these letters, one going to her sister's ex-boyfriend who she had a crush on before the sister even dated her. And in order to not face that, she decides to fake date a different boy that she sent a love letter to, Peter Kavinsky. They fake date and end up falling in love, and it's the absolute best. The action in this movie, the soundtrack, the overall vibes of this movie are just perfect, and it's the cutest thing. Now moving on to second chance romance movies. The first movie I have on this list is Crazy Stupid Love, and this has interconnected storylines, but I feel like the base story of this movie is about Cal and his wife Emily. They were high school sweethearts who have 3 kids together, and one day she decides that she wants a divorce, and it's all about the path that he goes on to eventually getting her back. Next, I have 13 going on 30. We start on Jenna Rink's 13th birthday, but it goes terribly, and she makes a wish that she was 30, 40, and thriving, as said in a magazine that she was reading. Her wish comes true. She wakes up the next day in her 30s in New York, living her supposed dream life, but it turns out not everything is as it seems. She ends up reuniting with her childhood best friend, Maddie, and they end up falling in love. Next, Sweet Home Alabama. This is about Melanie. She has moved away from her small town in Alabama and has completely reinvented herself, but when she gets proposed to, she has to go back to her hometown to get a divorce from her first husband, which nobody knew she had, and obviously it's second chance romance, so eventually they end up back together. Last on my second chance romance list is Ticket to Paradise. This is also a movie that I feel is underrated. It did not get as much praise as it should have when it came out in theaters, but it's about Georgia and David. Their daughter is in Thailand, about to get married and stay in Thailand, and they think she's too young and not ready. And in trying to sabotage her wedding, they end up falling back in love with each other. And moving on to our final trope, enemies to lovers, starting out with Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is about Prince Henry and Alex Claremont Diaz, the president's son, and they have obviously been at the same political and royal events together and do not like each other one bit, and it's getting out of hand, so their PR people have to make them become best friends, or at least seem like they're best friends to the public, and in pretending to be best friends, they realize they want to be more than friends. Next, I have Life as We Know It. This is about Holly and Messer. They are best friends, are married, and they were once set up on a blind date, but they absolutely hate each other because the blind date did not go well. But when something happens to their best friends and they are now raising their best friend's baby together, they have to get over their hate for each other, and it turns out that they were on the path to being together all along. Next, 10 Things I Hate About You. This is about the Stratford sisters. They are not allowed to date until they graduate high school, but because younger sister Bianca wants to date, dad changes it that Bianca can date when Kat dates. So Bianca finds somebody for Kat to go out with, and Kat is very guarded and does not want anything to do with him at first, but eventually lets her guard down and they fall in love. And last but not least, on our enemies to lovers list, this is Set It Up, another movie that I feel like is underrated but has been recently getting the praise that it deserves, I feel. And this movie is about Charlie and Harper. They are assistants to very demanding, rude, obsessive bosses. They decide in order to let their bosses get some pressure off of them that they're going to set up their bosses. And in setting them up, they are at first kind of enemies and like don't think each other's ideas are good, and whatever the setup is, become friends and are having a really good time with the setup, and eventually more. Those are some of my favorite movies under those tropes, and obviously there are so many more, especially that I love, but I was trying to contain myself a little bit. But if you're looking for anything for Valentine's Day, now you have a whole list to choose from. Let me know if you end up watching any of these movies or any of the Galentines movies I recommended in last week's video. If you have anything you want to see from me, put it in the comments below. You can also follow me on all of my other socials. It'll be in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!